Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sequel Pitch, the podcast where four friends pitch sequels to movies that don't currently have one and put their love for each other on the line as they battle it out to be the winning sequel and claim superiority. I am last episode's winner and your host today, Matt Rushton, and swinging into action this week are three spandex-loving, colourful variants of the superhero protagonist of this episode, Spider Nerd Drew Toynbee.
Hello there. I like
Spider Mad Andy Henry.
Do animals talk in this podcast? Because I don't want to freak anyone out.
Spider Spam Ross Armstrong.
What do you mean I'm spider spam?
Well, it's a cost of living crisis. I can't afford pork, so I just had to go for the next
Yeah. Oh, it's like that was planned. I'm really impressed.
I'll take that. Improv.
Yeah.
Hello, web slingers, and yeah, let's just hope it is webs that we're slinging.
Oh,
Now,
Get in there. Get in there.
It comes crashing back down to reality. Sorry about that. Well, if that wasn't enough for you, I do have a special treat, and I'm so excited to also welcome back our returning special guest this week, someone else who I heard is not averse to spandex. It's our movie journalist, maestro, and friend of the podcast. Welcoming back Jordan King, everybody.
Yay!
Wherever I go, the wind follows, and the wind smells like rain.
As long as it's not curry, that's fine. Jordan, it's been a while since we had you, mate. How have you been? What have you been up to?
I've been busy. My last time I was recording, very small child is now sort of Russian dolling and becoming a bigger child. I'm still writing bits for Empire. Started recently writing some stuff for Yahoo as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, and watching films as and when I can, and reading a lot of Spider-Man comics recently, actually, which is quite helpful.
Yeah.
So he's the one you're impressing today, chaps, not me.
Yeah, he knows his stuff.
It is. It's great to have you back, mate. Thanks ever so much for
Thank
coming
you
on
for
again.
inviting me back.
And listeners, if for some weird reason your spidey senses didn't tingle with that introduction, we're swinging into the 2018 animated spectacular, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So before we get into our thoughts of the movie, if you don't fancy rewatching it before for some weird reason, as always, we'll treat you to a quick kind of 60-second-ish summary. I guess the time can start now. After the death of his dimension Spider-Man at the hands of Wilson Fisk, recently bitten Miles Morales battles his demons, other dimensions, and the weight of Spider-Man's responsibility to try and save the world and shut down a rift-tearing super collider. Along the way, he meets older Peter Parker and the mysterious Gwen Stacy, who he'd brushed shoulders with at school from other dimensions. With the help of Aunt May and a few very familiar yet very different faces, and despite resistance from the likes of Olivia Octavius, Fisk, the Prowler, and other Spidey villains, Miles and co create a new key to shut down the collider and send the Spider-Verse squad home. Unfortunately, en route, Miles learns that the Prowler is in fact his Uncle Aaron, and when he reveals his identity to his uncle mid-brawl, this leads to Fisk killing the Prowler, not before Aaron reminds his nephew to just keep going before dying. Miles' cop father and brother to Aaron, a vocal critic of Spider-Man, sees what he believes is the Spider-Man killing Aaron and fleeing, which leads to a vengeful spider hunt, completely unaware that that's his son. We then cut back to the other dimension spiders. They're all concerned for Miles' safety as he's not got control of his powers, so they restrain him. An older Peter Parker, who kind of takes on a mentor figure, decides he's going to be the one that sacrifices himself to send all his friends home to the other dimension through the collider. There's definitely enough time that he could still jump through, but never mind. We'll deal with that later. After hearing a heartfelt moment from his father through a door, Miles finds strength. He breaks through the shackles of the web, takes his leap of faith in a badass suit that Aunt May made with him. He joins the desperate fight, saving Brooklyn, the world, and his friends in the process. They all manage to get home. Miles defeats Fisk and the goons. They all get captured. His father sees Spider-Man, in fact, saving the city and brands him a hero. And then we close with Miles embracing responsibilities. We see him receive a dimensional call from Gwen Stacy popping out of her own dimension. We also see the other little Easter egg, perhaps, or is it teaser, of Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, ending up in the 1967 animated Spider-Man series, and the two argue. So there we have it. I tried to keep it 60 seconds, but there's always a lot to fit into these.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
I reckon there's a multiverse out there where that was 60 seconds.
Sweet, I'll tell you that. This is why we have you on, John. You're big up as well as everything else. You make people feel better. So there we have it. What we'll do now, listeners, we'll get straight into our final thoughts and our scores. But as always, if you want to hear our detailed breakdown of the movie with Jordan King with us this episode, then join us on one of our pitch pals. Become one of our pitch pals on Patreon. You'll get full access to the review. You know where to find us, patreon.com/sequel pitch. But for now, Drew, I'm going to come over to you first. Let's get your final thoughts and your score, please.
It's an incredible movie. I'll try not to. I could just talk, I could gush for such a long time about how wonderful this movie is. It's pitch perfect. It looks beautiful. It's emotional. It's hysterically funny. And it is 5 wet spider ham handshakes out of 5.
Why is that ham wet? Why is that ham
Lovely.
wet? Well, I mean,
You don't want to know, but Andy
No,
will
we
come and
don't.
find out what you think about it.
yeah, it's a joy of a film. It's bloody marvelous. There's nothing wrong with this film. Well, no, I have a few nitpicks, but yeah, no, it's colourful. It's lovely. The story's great. The characters are great. It's nice that it's a new kind of Spider-Man and kind of a new story in that way. Yeah, and just so funny. It's got Miller and Lord and Miller's like fingerprints all over it. Definitely one of their best. I'm going to give it 5 bagels out of 5.
Thank you very much. Ross, over to you.
Had you asked me, are you ready for another Spider-Man movie from Sony? I would have probably said no. However, when you watch this movie, it is a breath of fresh air. New characters. It's the same story, but done in such a good way. Like, if you know what I mean, like there's still the same journey that Peter Parker has and Miles Morales has, really. But it's great. It's a great movie. It looks beautiful. The soundtrack by Daniel Pemberton is great, along with all the other various artists that did some music for it as well. So, and yeah, the voice acting in it is great, superb. And I really like the visual art style that they went for this as well. So I'm going to give it 5 TGI Spideys. TGI Spideys. Fuck me, I can't even say it. Out of 5.
Amazing. Thank you very much. All right, Jordan, passing it on to you.
I mean, I feel like it's been well covered, but I would just say that for me, as a lifelong fan of Spider-Man, this is the closest thing that I've ever experienced on the screen to what it's like reading a Spider-Man comic for the first time. It's vibrant, ambitious, bold, audacious. It pushes the animated medium to new frontiers, and you've seen in the years since it came out that the entire way that every major studio and independent studio approach making animated films now has changed forever and for the better. It is completely perfect and very poignant, and it is 5 goobers, because there's always a goober, out of 5 from me.
Nice.
Amazing. I guess what can I say that hasn't been said? I think Jordan, you nail it. Like, for me, it's watching animation and really capturing the heart of the comic book genre and making it feel like you're just sat there watching a visual comic book and watching it come to life. I'll be honest, the first time I ever watched this, for some reason it didn't connect with me. I remember being a little bit bored, but I don't know if that's because I was tired or just not really vibing it. But sitting back and watching it today, I couldn't be happy and couldn't be more glad that we did this movie, because I was like, God, what was wrong with me back then? 2018 me needed a slap around the head because he was not thinking straight. Yeah, it's a magical film. I can't think off the top of my head. 5 heartfelt, wonderful Stanley cameos out of 5. I'll give it. I think it's clear sweep.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
What does that mean? That it has that?
That rivals Flash Gordon. Oh my god.
Yeah, it joins Flash Gordon and Inception as our 2 5 out of 5, as our third full 5 out of 5.
I mean, does this one technically become like 5.25 out of 5 because there's 5 others in the call? So we've superseded the 100% quota of 4 votes.
Have we just broken the system? Oh shit.
We could say that actually, yeah, this is 6.25 out of 5. if we're taking its whatever score added up and divided by 4, but as they're like, that's not how averages work.
It is now. Damn it! There's a glitch in the Matrix. There's a glitch in our Super Collider.
It does give us a clear winner out of those. So okay, yeah. So actually, Into the Spider-Verse has 6.25 out of 5.
There you go. It doesn't sound like we're recommending this one, then, guys.
Nah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, with the scores in, there is now only one thing for it. God, I feel sorry for you 3 today. It's time to get your sequels pitched. So this week we are going to kick off with, it's the same rules as always. You will have a chance to pitch your pitches to us, to Jordan and I this week. We will then ask questions. You will then have your beat-up phase, your debate phase, I guess we'll call it. And ultimately, Jordan and I will give some feedback to Jordan. Jordan will be the one this week making that all-important decision for our 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place winner. Just to give you a couple of variations on our rules this week. He loves the power, as you can hear. I'm just going to go with alphabetical order this week. Andy, you're up first. Your pitch title and blurb, please.
My pitch title, because I thought I'd be a bit different, it's Mars going into SeaWorld. So he's going to meet Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, and I've called it Spider-Man Into the Snyderverse. Whee.
Okay.
No, I didn't. No. I've called this one. Yeah. This one's called Spider-Man: The Web of Life and Destiny.
Ooh.
My little blurb is when I'm going to call spider people, anyone who's like a Spider-Man, because obviously there's Spider Hams and Spider Women out there. I'm going to call everyone under the term spiders or spider, because that'd be easier. So when spiders in every universe start dying for unknown reasons, the Spider Gang from the first film have to come together to take down a threat that plans to destroy all the spiders.
Okay, thank you very much. Take it away.
Right, so we start on a big fight where we see Spider-Man 2099. On the edge of the fight, he's watching multiple versions of Spider-Man or Woman and, all of them die. He looks around, and as a blast of fire is about to be shot at him, he uses the time device on his wrist to escape. Back at his headquarters, he uses a supercomputer to locate more spiders and then sends them a message. And this is where we introduce the gang from the first one. They all get a message depending on their location and style. Spider-Ham can get one that blows up or something, and Noir can get a letter in his mailbox with a little arrow that pops up and stuff. They all open the messages and then get sucked into a portal, which takes them back to Spider-Man 2099's headquarters. When they're all together, they realize that someone's missing, and then we see a computer showing an unread email. As we pick up at the end of the last film where Miles is on his bed, listening to music. Portal opens up and Gwen says, "Hey, you got a minute?" Tells him to get a suit, and then he jumps in and joins them through the portal. 2099, Spider-Man explains there's spiders dying all over the universe, but he doesn't know why. And the gang asks why he cares so much, and he reveals that they're standing in a temple called Loom World on Earth 001. The nexus of the multiverse, and he is the protector of the Grand Weaver, the guardian of the web of life the guardian of the web of life and destiny, which is basically a way to travel through different universes and realities. Suddenly, the Inheritors, a clan of monsters that travel to different universes and feed upon gods and big, powerful creatures, consuming their essence and their power. They break in and try and kidnap the Weaver. The Spider Gang fight them off. But they get the Weaver and make him help They make the Weaver help them escape using the Web of Life, and they're gone. 2099 says to the Spider Gang that he can't use the web like the Weaver, but he has like the time devices from the end of the first film. And he says you can follow trace amounts of universal energy that will lead you to the Grand Weaver. So he gives he splits the teams in like say two, because he's only got two devices. So they split off into two teams. Over Act 2, they go through different universes trying to find the Inheritors. Miles, it's revealed that Gwen, Miles helped her open up in the first film and stuff, and now she actually has a boyfriend in her universe. And Miles says it's fine and stuff, and they're just friends. It's fine. We cut to the other group where Spider-Ham is asking Gwen, like, how is it just fine? You and Miles clearly like each other, but Gwen just says, boy and girl can be friends and not have any romantic connection there. It doesn't need to be. But then they do pass through a universe where Gwen and Miles have given up the superhero life, and they've got family and kids, and they're all happy. So it kind of makes them maybe think a little bit. Over a few universes, the Spiders meet different versions of characters they know, and they find two Inheritors who have just killed a super being and consumed their energy, so they're all jacked up. They have an awesome fight, and although they're Inheritors, the Spider Gang just manages to defeat them. They use their devices to find clues leading to more Inheritors who are more powerful because they've been consuming gods while they've been away. Each world is different, and no matter where they go, there's always a story or some through line, some backstory, some like nighttime story or something that they hear, which is basically an old tale of a goddess from Earth 001 tasked her two daughters, one called Saratha and one called Neith, with creating ways of keeping the multiverse in order. Saratha designed a cruel construct and called it the Great Hive, and Neith produced an intricate network and called it the Great Web. The goddess praised Neith and her Great Web, which drove Saratha to be consumed by hatred and jealousy, and then hatred for all spiders. The Spider Gang finally find the Inheritors, bring them back. The Spider Gang finally find the Inheritors hiding the Weaver and fight. They web him up, and then they bring him back to Spider-Man 2099. 2099 starts to laugh and acts like he just suddenly knows these Inheritors, like intimately, starts like maybe calling them by names or something. The Spider Gang looks around, a bit confused, what's going on here? And then 2099 slaughters each of the Inheritors right in front of the other Spider-Mans and reveals he isn't actually Spider-Man from 2099. His name is Cran, and he was actually an Inheritor that got that they exiled. Basically, the Inheritors were consuming god powers when one day they heard a prophecy that they would be taken down by a spider. Not believing the prophecy, they attacked the very first Spider-Man and nearly lost the fight so badly they only just managed to flee with their lives. They then became so afraid of spiders they decided to attack all other gods except for spiders, but Cran wanted revenge and wanted them to only attack spiders. So that's when the family exiled him and said, you go and do it yourself if you want, we're not doing it. Cran vowed revenge not only on his family, but spiders everywhere. This is where Saratha appeared before him and told him if he became her avatar, they could force the Weaver to take them through the universes and kill his family in every universe. And then through Cran, Saratha could use the web to terminate every spider. And then a little bit of a flashback. When they entered into the temple to kidnap the Weaver, that's when they saw the Inheritors kidnap him first. Cran knows he can't destroy all the Inheritors when they're at their peak power, so that's why he called the Spider Gang to do his dirty work, thinking they would kill each other, and then he could just easily go in, grab the Weaver, and do his job. But no, they're all alive. So a massive fight breaks out. Cran morphs into this giant, monstrous wasp-themed dark goddess that the Spider Gang have to fight. One by one, Cran knocks out the spiders until it's only Miles left. He's filled with rage and power. And he tries to fight Krang, but he nearly dies when suddenly Neith appears before Miles, wanting him to be her avatar. Miles accepts, and the power of Neith turns Miles into a spider totem called the Other, which is basically a giant humanoid spider monster. So we have a giant spider versus a giant wasp. And then Miles uses a power called the Enigma Force, which it could be a little bit of an explanation, but it's basically a really powerful light graced by the god of light. And Cran nearly dies, but then flees into a portal, grabbing Gwen on the way down, and the portal closes. And then we end with Miles being crowned a spider totem, which is like a powerful protector of the web of life and destiny. The Weaver says, legends has it there's 2 more spider totems out there somewhere in the multiverse. Their job is to seek them out so they can help come back and protect the multiverse. Miles says he's honored, but he has to save his friend first. The Weaver nods and says he can send Miles and the gang to her. Opens up a portal, and they all swing through. And then, end credits, is we see a futuristic lab with robots working on what we consider to be patients. Strapped to one bed is an unconscious Cran, back in like human. There's a robot doctor who leaves and enters an office, and we see like a robot in a suit. The robot in a suit asks if they found the test subject, and the doctor robot replies no, but I think he may find us. And then a few more robot doctors bring Gwen who's unconscious, on a floating bed. I wanted to do a maniacal robot laugh, but they won't. The office door closes, and then we see the office belongs to the Assessor, which doesn't mean anything to anyone, but it's a big, powerful Miles villain. So...
Okay. Good. So Jordan will
I
probably
can see that.
know
As soon as
what I
I
mean.
said the Assessor, yeah, everyone's like blank face. I was like, it's a big deal. Don't worry.
I'll let you fill in some gaps for people. I'm sure people have questions about that anyway. Thank you very much. This is a very detailed pitch. My question for you on this one is, where does the comic book inspiration end and the Andy Henry pitch begin? So how much of it is based on comic storylines
It's
and how much
basically
of it is original?
it's all. I would say like 80% of it is comic.
Okay.
Cran isn't what he is in the comics. I just did that for my my story. But no, the gods, that's all true. Assessor, giant wasp themed dark goddess is true. Yeah, maybe like 95%. It's
Okay.
like maybe it's a few different stories that I kind of either slotted in different places or tweaked slightly just to make things work for me.
Oh, as I said in the WhatsApp chat, Civil War is absolutely not the comic book Civil War, so don't worry about taking inspiration from storylines and running with a direct storyline. Cool. Jordan, have you got any questions for Andy?
Yeah, I really like the pitch, and I think part of that is that I feel like if you got nominated for an Oscar for this, I mean, it would have to be adapted screenplay because you're using pre-existing characters, but it would be like a super adapted screenplay because like you're kind of latticing together a lot of comic book strands. What was the inspiration behind using The Other, which is obviously like a massive part of Spider-Man comic book history, and how do you think the introduction of The Other in your sequel responds to the first film? Like, how do you feel like it gives a chance to expand what the first film was doing?
I wanted to use it just because I was thinking kind of just bigger and better for the sequel. Then when I was doing a bit of research and stuff, and there was a massive spider, and then there was a massive wasp monster and stuff. So that seemed like an easy Act 3 fight to put together. But no, yeah, I just wanted to kind of show that like, the first film was kind of based a little bit in normalcy and a little bit of like multiverses and stuff, and then this one is just ridiculous. He gets me like a godly protector at the end, and then the next one, will be like very Flash Gordon-y, going through different universes and things like that.
That's cool.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Anything else there, John, or should we move on to Drew?
I think so. Actually, I really liked the pitch, and it's a lot of my favorite parts of the other storyline, but put together in a way that I was there just sort of thinking, the wheels aren't falling off of this. They should be falling off by now, but they kind of didn't.
Wow.
Not saying that because it was you that was
God.
not saying because it was you pitching it, the wheels should be falling off.
Yeah.
I mean, because
that's right.
the
They're
other
normally coming
was-
off by the end of the titles, so yeah.
Well, you had me in the first half with Into the Snyderverse.
Yeah. I was interested to see where that one went. Cool. Thank you very much, Andy. You can take a breather for now. Drew, we're coming over to you, sir.
Okay, mine is Spider-Man Clash of the Spider-Verse.
Ooh.
I'm not too fond of it, but again, best I could come up with at that point. So, Miles is adjusting to life as Spider-Man whilst he continues to develop feelings for Gwen, who has worked out how they can talk across dimensions. As he juggles school, superheroing, and growing feelings for his girlfriend, ? He impulsively tries to engineer a way to see her and causes a cataclysm that may end multiple worlds.
Ooh, okay. Bring it on.
So we start off with the stylish recap again. Miles is Spider-Man. He's enjoying being Spider-Man, but juggling it. It's the standard, like, you make a joke of the fact that he's having the problem that all Spider-Men who are still in school have, which is he's trying to be a teenager and a superhero. He's got Ganke. He goes to see May Parker occasionally, and she gives him bits of stuff from Peter's old arsenal. And we see the portal that opened at the end of the first movie it's just like a video screen. You can't go through it, but Gwen managed to work out how so that they could talk. She just wanted to be able to talk to him. And so he's building this relationship. You have a joke that he has a girlfriend, but it's long distance, and he keeps telling people that she lives in Canada, which I thought would be quite funny as an Avenue Q fan. At the beginning of Act 1, we also find out Kraven is in town and wants the blood of this new spider. And also Jefferson has been put onto the anti-Spider-Man task force by the new shadowy mayor of New York, who doesn't want a Spider-Man to be around for some reason or another. So even though he's conflicted by it, he is driven by following his orders and upholding the law, and so he's doing that. So Kraven hunting him is wearing him down. The police trying to get him is wearing him down. He's desperate to see Gwen for real. Like, their feelings are becoming really quite powerful. And so he's talking to Gwen and kind of works out that he might be able to work out a way for them to travel. So he goes back to Kingpin's collapsed collider and steals some parts from it. He heads home. Kraven tracks him there. And as Miles is building the thing, Kraven attacks. Everything goes horribly wrong. And it causes a convergence. Miles, Jeff, and Rio all get sucked into the space between multiverses and are intercepted quite quickly by Miguel O'Hara. Miguel tells Miles that basically through Miles' actions, he has ensured that all of the universes that contain a Spider-Man are going to be destroyed. Because they're all being sucked together by this convergence, like trying to draw on the ideas from No Way Home, and like all of these Spider-Men being pulled together and that link, and trying to pull on that a little bit. The only way that it can be stopped is that Miles' Earth has to be destroyed, and that will save all of the rest of them. And he tells Miles, Jeff, and Rio that they can stay here with him and they'll survive, or they can return to their Earth before he directs energy from a fire universe or something much more dramatic, and they can go home and die with the rest of their people. Miles panics and fights Miguel, manages to steal the device that he uses to open portals between dimensions. Jeff gets badly slashed by Miguel's claws, but they manage to trap him in the space between worlds and jump to another world, with Miles wanting to fix his mistake. Miles is panicking about his dad's injury and forgets to do his kind of deep, cool Spider-Man voice, and his parents instantly recognize him. And it's a big deal. Like, they can't even fathom how badly their son's messed up, and he's being a teenager and being like, come on, this isn't a big deal. It was a mistake. It wasn't even my fault. It was Kraven. If Kraven hadn't come, nothing would have gone wrong. And they're like, yep, this isn't like sneaking out for a house party or sticking stickers on signs. This is the end of multiple worlds, potentially. And I would want that tension to carry on throughout. And particularly, there was something when I was reading about the creation of the character, like Jeff pulls on a thing that he's like, out of anger, he says he's worried. He was always worried that Miles would turn out like his uncle. And Miles takes that on board and is like, oh, could he deep down be bad? Does he get to choose? But he pushes back and he's like, well, you work for the police and like you're black and you're a policeman, just like getting really heated. And there's Rio in between both of them angry with both of them for how they're treating each other, and it's all a big mess. But obviously they decide they need to stop this and they'll need help. So first stop, they use the device, they go and find Gwen, and you get the awkward comedy of meeting the parents. We get Peter B, Penny, the rest of the gang. They all know that they will need one of the most brilliant minds that's ever existed to try and figure out this problem. And the smartest person that any of them know in all of their versions of their multiverses is their version of Doc Ock. So we have a big montage journey where they're jumping across different universes trying to find a Doc Ock who will work with spider people. And you just, like, the first one, it's like 3 or 4 minutes of them getting there, exploring, finding, and then being attacked. And then it just gets shorter and shorter in duration as they go to different worlds. And it eventually just becomes a second of them appearing and a tentacle going to attack them. And it cuts to the next one, the same thing's happening. Until they arrive, all of these animated characters in a realistic-looking 2002 New York, and find Alfred Molina after he survived being sent back after No Way Home after he was reformed by Tom Holland's Spider-Man. We get a joke about how he's got experience with multiple Spider-Men, although this is significantly stranger than he had previously anticipated. He says, of course, he'll try and help. They do some sciencey stuff and comedy and science, and they realize they've got to return to the space between and find a way to separate Miles's Earth, separate the energy of Miles's Earth from the multiverse and stop drawing them all together. So they head back to the space between and they square up against Miguel. They arrive and they find that he's been scouring the sort of floating detritus in there to build a new device that he can use to finish his mission. Doc Ock has to calibrate a load of stuff, and Miles and everyone else, they need to stop Miguel from blasting Miles's Earth to pieces. It all starts, there's fight, there's tension, there's time running out, and then more Spider-Men start to arrive who have sensed the impending disaster with their Spidey sense and managed to work out multiversal travel as it's been unfolding from the signature that the gang left while they jumped through loads of different universes looking for a Doc Ock. It ends up there's a huge battle, like new Spider-Men arrive, they're like, what's going on? And then whoever's closest to them shouts the message. So it's kind of a random split of, oh, we've got to stop the spiky Spider-Man from blowing up an Earth, or it's we've got to stop the Spider-Man all in black from not letting us destroy his Earth or we'll all die. And it all just gets really confused, big battle, and it ends up Miles facing off against Miguel. He manages to stop him fighting. Miles blocks the device, and he starts to get through to him. And Doc Ock's like, right, time's running out. I can do this. I know how this will work, but it's not just going to stop energy flowing. It is going to completely sever Miles's universe from all other universes in the multiverse. His parents are like, okay, great, let's go. Miles freaks out. He's only just got to Gwen. We've seen their relationship sort of building and everything and becoming very real through the course of the film. Gwen and his parents sort of talk to him. They talk him into letting it happen. His parents go through, but then he's like, no, I'm staying with you, Gwen. I'm staying. And she has a big speech of, he's got to go. His world needs Spider-Man. His parents need Miles. Across the infinite multiverse, they found each other once. Maybe they can do it again. But Miles doesn't go through with it, and he tries to destroy the machine to get to Gwen, and Miguel stabs him with his claws and pushes him through as Doc Ock severs it. And his parents find him, he collapses, he's bleeding, it's looking bad. His parents try to rush him to the hospital, but his mum has to save him, like, on the street. But he recovers, he takes some time, gets over Gwen with the help of his parents, and gets on with being Spider-Man. It's very bittersweet, but he grows up even more, and it makes him better at the end.
Amazing, thank you. I decided I'm going to run with a similar question for all of you. Are you pulling inspiration from comic book narratives for this? Is this a Drew Toynbee whip up?
It's pretty much all me. I couldn't find any decent Wikipedia breakdowns of specific comic storylines that I felt like I could make it work thematically. Like they all get, from the research I did, the top level descriptions of Miles's overarching large narratives are all like properly bananas, and in a good way. But it didn't feel. I'm very picky about this stuff, And I was like, oh, I didn't see the one that Andy's taken inspiration from. I didn't even find that one, so God knows where I was looking. But yeah, the stuff that I took. The only real thing that I took was the fact that Miles and Gwen do become a couple in some universe, because I liked that. I've done the thing before of being like, oh no, they don't have to get together because they're male and female leads of a movie, and they shouldn't have to. But also they had really good chemistry, and actually I wanted to try and do a multiverse story that was also ended up being about an experience that a 16, 17-year-old kid has to go through, of like having to effectively break up with someone that they are properly in love with and have a genuine connection with. And it's basically a multiverse story entirely to facilitate Miles having a long distance relationship and realizing it is as incredible as he thought, but realizing that they can't be together. That's it.
How 16-year-old me wishes I had a multiverse to get out of these
well, yeah,
these painful
indeed.
moments. Jordan, anything for you for Drew there?
Yeah, I really liked the pitch, and almost for entirely opposite reasons to why I loved Andy's. Like I loved the like comic book intertextuality of the first pitch, and then I loved the lack of comic book footholds in the second. The one thing that I did notice, and I don't know whether it's like a sort of recency bias or just because it's the most recent big Spider-Man thing that's in my head, there are some points of convergence, if you will, with events of Spider-Man No Way Home, which you do acknowledge within the like pitch itself, especially when Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus comes into things. But you do have the sort of Spider-Man, his love is about to tear the world apart. He tries to put things right, but he actually makes things go drastically wrong. And then other spider people get involved, and then at the end of it all, it ends on a really bittersweet note where he's grown and learned a lesson, and he has to be apart from the person he loves. But ... So there is like a basic thematic framework that has some beats that are similar. So what I guess I'm wondering is, like, for you, what are the things that your story tunes into specifically that you think make it different enough from No Way Home that people wouldn't come out of it going, "Oh wow, that was a really cool animated version of No Way Home"?
Yeah, I'll be entirely honest. And again, this is why you get paid to do this. I didn't make any of those connections. I was just like, okay, Miles has to be the one who causes this problem, because it's more interesting narratively if he's the one who causes the problem. And they shouldn't be able to stay together at the end, because I just finished watching Schitt's Creek again, and the fact that Alexis and David, and not David, Alexis and Ted don't stay together at the end is really incredible. So given that I'm
You've
having
just spoiled Schitt's Creek. Although that's totally on me. Lucy and I have been halfway through the final series for about a year and a half.
Oh, I am so sorry.
That's right. We're
I'm
on the podcast.
so sorry.
No, we know who's got
I am
third place.
so sorry. Oh my god.
I feel like the statute of limitations on that went about 5 years ago. So it's...
Well, yeah, but even so, I'm very sorry about
We kind of
that.
did the podcast if it helps. I don't know.
Yeah, at least we won't ruin it.
No,
for-
this is staying in. Drew's going to be hated amongst
Yeah.
all of our listeners
Yeah.
now.
Who's got a
To
minus
swing-
1 against him already?
Yeah.
to immediately take the attention back away from that, though, something that you kind of something that you touched on there that is interesting with your pitch ending up being similar to No Way Home is that I think it is just touching on a Spider-Man writer's not problem, but like a Spider-Man writer's toolkit, where you can't write Spider-Man without it being ultimately boy wants girl, bad things happen when he tries to be with her, boy can't be with girl.
Yeah.
So maybe that's less of a you repeating No Way Home problem and more of a you just can't do Spider-Man without him getting his heart broken properly.
Well, I mean, it's very kind of you to say that, but yeah, I have also had him create a multiversal problem that will end worlds unless he ends up sacrificing something incredibly important to him. So
Even if only he had a wizard that he could have asked for some help.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, as far as differentiating it, then God, I mean, it would be about I would want as much comedy in this one as in the first. I would want it to be bonkers, in that kind of absurd slapsticky way. But yeah, I can't really defend myself any further. I've done an animated version of No Way Home. I hang my head in shame.
Oh, no. Hang your head in shame for spoiling Schitt's Creek. Don't hang your head in shame for your pitch.
Gonna fly swiftly over there to our third picture. Whatever you do, don't ruin Lost or something, please, Ross. While you're there.
Everyone
On a
dies.
list of every show that I'm watching.
Ross,
Listen, any of you guys say anything, I'm gonna spoil Ted Lasso for you.
Oh no!
Sorry, I'm on the latest episode, so don't worry about it.
No, you're not on my latest episode.
Privilege.
Oh no! Mine's called Miles Morales: the Spider-Man.
Ooh.
Miles learns of the inheritors and the destruction of other universes and needs to stop them for reasons.
You got to stop peeking over my shoulder when I write mine, Ross. Seriously.
Cool. Jordan's going to be waiting for this one, I think, very intently. Take it away, Ross.
We opened the movie. By the way, I wrote this pitch miles before Andy did, so screw you, Andy. We opened the movie with the epileptic-inducing intro we saw from the first one, and we hear Gwen's voice saying, "Hey, pay attention." He sees her talking through a portal, and she lands next to him on his bed. They talk about what they've been doing since she last saw him. They do that "let me catch you up" thing, and Miles tells Gwen he's faced the Green Goblin, Rhino as well, both who are now behind bars. This can be extended to a full intro fight scene. Miles asks her how she is here, and then she does her catch-up thing as well, and she says that she wants him to meet someone. She grabs his hand and pulls him through the portal. You then see them travel through different worlds really fast, and keen Easter egg hunters will have a field day in that bit. Until they land on top of a building. He's like, "Where are we?" She says, "My world." She then reveals Spider-Man 2099, voiced by Oscar Isaacs. He then tells Miles that he's been watching him and he did a great job saving the multiverse, but he needs his help again to save it from an even bigger threat, and that he's created these devices to travel through dimensions. We then get this story explaining that his world and everything was destroyed due to these people called the Inheritors, a group of superpowered people looking at bringing an end to all of the Spider-Verse. Miles freaks out and says he's late for school, so Spider-Man 2099 gives him a device and then sends him back. We then get some classic high school hijinks at school. Although Miles struggles to keep awake because of how busy he's become as Spider-Man. He goes home and has a heart-to-heart with his mum and dad. His dad sits in his room and says he's proud of what he's become. And Miles opens up to him, and he kind of alludes that he needs to make a really important decision about this thing that Spider-Man 2099 said. And he doesn't know if he should just stay out of it. His dad says, "You've got to do what's right. That's your responsibility. Always do what you feel is right." He then uses the device to travel back to overweight Peter Parker. You can have some hilarious scene of him scaring him as he enters the portal while he's sleeping or something. Anyway, while they're having a chat and catch up, suddenly Peter and Miles have a joint fight with some of Peter's world's baddies. They win, and Miles says he's going to help. So he grabs hold of Peter and travels to Gwen, and Spider-Man 2099 then takes them to his world. It's a scene of devastation and destruction. Miles now knows that this is the right thing to do, so they use the device to travel to a sort of highway for all the different worlds, known as the Web of Worlds. They see lots of different Spider-Men, insert some fun cameos from across the Marvel, including Tobey Maguire as a real person. Then all of a sudden, there's a huge explosion, and the inheritors appear. They fuck shit up and kill Tobey Maguire. Yeah, fucking dead. Everyone is running away back to their worlds, and Gwen, Peter, and 2099 barely make out alive. Then there's a scene of the inheritors killing off Spider-Man and draining their powers from becoming more powerful. They see Spider-Man 2099 escape and become enraged. Basically, 2099 killed one of the team of, and like they have a vendetta against him. The next portion of the movie is the gang going through different universes, but constantly being chased by the inheritors, who leave destruction in their wake. They get to Spider-Man Noir and the other dweebs as well, as they fight the inheritors through these different universes. They learn that their ultimate goal is to access the source of all reality, known as the Web of Life and Destiny. Oh, if the inheritors succeed, they will be able to reshape the multiverse in their image, destroying all of the spider people in the process. They stop at Miles's world and decide to take a stand. The gang, all of 2099, Spider-Man Noir, and all the others, they stop at Miles's world and they decide to take a stand, along with maybe some other spider people as well that they've picked up along the way. Miles and his oh my god, I can't speak. Miles and his team face off against the inheritors, and they help all of the spider people from across the multiverse. With the help of all spider people from across the multiverse, they're able to stop the inheritors and save the Web of Life and Destiny. In the aftermath, the spider people return to their respective universes, but not before bidding each other a heartfelt farewell. Miles reflects on his journey and the importance of teamwork and friendship, vowing to continue to protect his city and the multiverse from harm. The movie ends with a post-credit scene featuring Fisk breaking out of prison with all other villains vowing to kill Miles. The end.
Wow, amazing. Thank you very much. Yeah, I guess we have a very similar question to this with you. How much of this is inspired by the comics that are out there, and how much of this is Ross's spin?
Well, I basically use the idea of the inheritors. That's like the crux of it. But in terms of like all the other stuff, it's all me, really. I just use them as the bad guys and their motivations. And I wanted to introduce Spider-Man 2099 and why, he got this device and why he was looking at them at the end of the movie. So I'd say that all that I use is the inheritors, and their motivation. I don't create anything else.
Okay, great. That's I'm going to keep it there for time. Jordan, have you got a question for us?
Yeah, I would ask. It's a bit of a broader question, but what do you think the lesson that Miles learns from this film is, if there is one? And if there isn't one, or if it's not the main point is that he learns something, what do you think the takeaway is from the sequel? Because obviously the first film had quite a strong sense of moral sentiment to it. What's yours trying to say?
I think
the cool fighting.
I think probably something that I didn't explain in the pitch, but the fact that he's this kid that doesn't know what is right and what's the best option to do, and the fact that his dad is saying you have to find out, you always have to do what you feel is right, and learning that it's not just his world, that there are other worlds, and being a superhero is about helping other people, not just in his world, but other worlds as well. And also the fact that, him teaming up with other Spider-Man and friends and stuff ultimately that's his like lesson that he learned, I guess. Having that friendship and being able to overcome people, the inheritors, with the help of his friends.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Carrying on this bumper episode, we're going to open it out because it wouldn't be a sequel pitch episode without a little bit of gloves off, toing and throwing and slapping and clawing and biting and stabbing and maiming and whatever else you want to do to each other. I'm actually quite on the fence. I really don't know how I'm going to go with this yet. There's two similar but very different pitches, and then one pitch very much stands on its own as well. But I'm not sure which one I actually do like the most. I genuinely, and I'm not making the ultimate decision. Jordan is too. So you're not only arguing to convince me which is the best, but you're arguing to convince Jordan which is the best this episode too. So.
I'm just as confused as you are at the moment. So this is the make or break for me, guys. No pressure.
Everything to play for. Fight it out, boys. I want to see blood. I want to see glory.
Well, you can't pick Andy's because he just copied it from fucking Wikipedia and just copied it onto his pitch and just changed a couple of names and went, yeah. Well, Eddie even said when you asked him, 95% of it was.
And that's
95% is from the comics, but it's not like just ripped from the pages. There's different things. I say like Fran is different to what he is in the comics and stuff.
Yeah, but you said 95% of it.
Yeah, because most of it is actually. I didn't bring anything new to it. It's all based in comic book lore already.
But if you went to an exam and just went, "Oh yeah, 95% of it is just something that I found on the internet," they'd be like, "Okay, well then you failed."
I just would like to do a minor bit of housekeeping. That is exactly how you pass your exams. You just remember all of the stuff that you read on the internet.
Yeah, all right.
I was saying, what are you on about? Like, I basically used as much comic book lore as I can, and you didn't.
You don't just go.
If I'd have known that I could have just made it all up.
Yeah, that would be great.
Got the marks.
I know you would have been 5% now, but yeah. No,
Anyway,
I use more comic book lore than you, Ross. That's what you realise is I've actually gone deeper.
No, I
comic
use
books,
it as a basis.
I've got a better story.
No, you don't have a better.
Yeah, but you're trying to please fans. That's what fans want. They want you to change the fucking stories that they love. I use the stories.
How can you say I'm trying to please the fans when you copied the 95% of a comic run?
Because that's what the fans want to see. They want to see what they know and they love on the screen. I'll take a little bit and then I'll change fucking everything else.
No, I use the baddies, because I don't want to just do it verbatim and go, just fucking do a comic. Because then people will just go, oh, well, this is just the comic that I just read.
Yeah, but that's what we fucking want to see. You always talk about Marvel films wanting to be as like close to them as the comic and it's
bring something different. You didn't bring anything different. You brought the same old shit from another comic.
Oh yeah. Have you seen a giant wasp and a giant spider? Is that just similar? Is it? Is that something you see in every fucking movie? Is it? Oh yeah.
And then you don't want to pick Drew. Don't pick Drew's because Drew's is just like Jordan said. I mean, he argued for us. So also, I don't understand what. So Miles goes to get some stuff, comes back, and then the whole world is fucked. He's realized that him fighting Craven, that's the bit I didn't get in yours.
Yeah, Craven
attacks him as he's building the portal generator, and it makes it malfunction, and it overpowers or something, and it causes a convergence.
But why would Miles do that after what he saw in the first one and all the shit that it caused from the first one?
Because as I did say in the pitch, he's been worn down by being hunted by Craven and the police, and Gwen is the best thing in his life, and he's desperate to actually physically be with her in person.
He can just talk to her on Skype in your Skype portal.
It's not like the same.
But he still can see her.
Ross, during the pandemic, when everything happened over Zoom, was that a suitable substitute for physical human contact with your loved ones?
No, but what I'm saying is, why would he then why would he do the thing that...
Because if Craven hadn't attacked him...
Yeah.
Huh? How old is he? 16, 17.
Yeah, exactly. Ross is saying, like, why would he do it? It's because he's a kid in love. That's why he's doing it.
Yeah, he is a foolish child.
To be fair, if
It
you
doesn't
play
matter.
Meatloaf over that, a bit of I would do anything for love.
There is
It all
no
makes
way
sense. It all
that
makes sense.
you're underplaying the seriousness and the message that was at the end of the first movie by then going, oh, actually, he's going to build a thing, and just because Craven threw a fucking dagger at the fucking thing, it caused it. I just think it underplays.
Look, the filmmaker, the previous, if Gwen hadn't appeared in a portal at the end of the previous one, then I wouldn't have had any multiversal stuff in it. But she does, and so we have to. Like why? Like that's like you saying you're Miguel, pulling them through is just as reckless. The spider people are clever enough and have their own scientific genius, and he works out a way with input from another universe, from Gwen, of how to make it stable and safe, apart from if someone kicks the machine in a big superhero fight.
I'm just saying it underplays what I think happens in the first movie. But,
I kind of agree, but again, they undercut it. They undercut it themselves.
Yes,
the fact
I
that
know.
Gwen just
Yeah,
shows
yeah.
up, like you've got. Yes, I do kind of agree, but that's what we had to work with. For my perspective, the strongest argument I can make in favor of myself, I'm not going to argue again. I think these guys have made a good case for why you shouldn't vote for theirs when they did their pitches. Oh! No, in the arguments, their pitches. I liked it. Mine does at least have some familial conflict and more. It feels like mine has more personal stakes for the characters and more of a journey for the characters as human beings than, oh my god, giant baddies are going to end the world, we must run from them and stop them. That's the sum total of my argument. It's like they both work. They do both work. Andy's felt a little bit lore heavy, but maybe Ross's only didn't feel quite so lore heavy because I'd already absorbed all the lore from Andy's pitch beforehand. So who knows? That's me done. I'm not going to get too all in on it. I thought we all had a hard job this week. Well done us.
I've never been more relieved to be sat in this chair. Let's put it that way. Any last comments from the other two?
Yeah, I want to say. I want to say anything. Yeah. So mine. No. So, but like, yeah. Unfortunately, Drew's is just a little bit too much like No Way Home. I think for to come out of the cinema and be satisfied that it's a whole new movie.
You had to give them that argument, Jordan. They would never have thought of that in a million years if you hadn't said
he said that. No, before he said that, I wrote Doctor Strange has Miguel has a very Doctor Strange feeling because when he was like, and then like Spider-Man taking the device at the start and stuff.
All right, fair play.
So yeah, mine and Ross's are very similar. I feel yes, leaning into the lore is what is good about this, is what the comic book fans want. My act 2 is filled with fights and the team splitting up into like two groups. So you got some nice chemistry, finding clues, which leads them to know who the inheritors are and all that lot, and the whole goddess story. Ross's, they seem to just be running away in act 2 a lot. But yet somehow learn the exposition of the inheritors. And he's got a filler fight as well. A filler fight. At one point he just meets up with Spider-Man and just defeats a couple of Spider-Man enemies.
No, that's his intro to meeting Peter Parker back again. He just said he fights a couple of enemies. Oh, so enemies. Which one's the little enemies then? Rhino? Mysterio? Well, he just fights somebody in his universe. He's like, oh, I'm in the middle. Either he's like, he bumps in to his universe and he's like in the middle of a fight and he's like, oh, what are you doing here, kid? And then he's like, oh, I'm taking out this guy. And then he's trying to help, but it actually doesn't work. And he's kind of like, oh, like, buddy Miles. Yeah. But then they actually fight. That's what the fucking good part of the movie is the fight scenes, obviously.
I've got fights, I've got fun characters, solving clues, that's always fun to see. The chemistry between, I've got a giant wasp and a giant spider as my big Act 3 fight. That would be fucking great to see. With the animation style that you bring to that, That'd be fucking great. And then just cool villains. I feel a bit of a twist. I say 2099's big twist. I think that you don't see coming, and it's just a nice, fun film that people can go see.
Okay. With that, I'm going to call it an end there. Thank you very much, gentlemen. A very passionate debate phase. 3 very, very good pitches, and like I say, I've never been more relieved to be sat as the host of an episode because I would not have come close to making a pitch like that.
I do have to say, my favorite line from Ross's pitch is it says, "A group of superpowered people are looking to bring the end of the Spider-Verse. Miles freaks out. He's late for school." He's in this other dimension, and he's like, the Spider-Verse could be destroyed. He's like, "Oh no, it's 9:05." Got a test.
He's a kid.
And he's like Marty McFly, just skateboarding.
I'm not going to pull up pedantics.
No, that was funny.
Going to happen
in my head.
I am going to give little pluses and minuses for my opinion, and then John is going to give his summary. And what I'll do is I'll give my pluses and minuses while John makes his decision on how we are distributing the points. I will then ask him for his third place with a summary as to why, second place, and winner as to why. And then we will move towards the end of this episode, this wonderful, wonderful episode. So here's it. I'm going to go just in the order that we pitched. So Andy, yours I feel is the scope and the scale of it is pretty huge. I think that can be a good thing. It could also maybe detract in the way that you are introducing a hell of a lot of new people and a lot of new characters, to the point where I was wondering, are we going to see any of the old guys? And I know they do come in, but then you've got the assessor and whatnot as well. And it's great, but we are moving, at least with the first Miles Morales film, there's a lot of recognizable characters. This is one we're amping up a bit. I personally can see that as a plus in some ways, appealing to the nerds. And I can see it as a detractor in the sense that the mainstream audience may feel a bit disconnected because they won't necessarily know who they're rooting for and who they're watching. But love that you're pulling on lore. Whether or not it's too much lore, I'm not the one to say because I don't know the comics, so I'm going to leave that to our master judge today. But yeah, thank you. Very good pitch, very detailed pitch. Drew, jumping over to yours. I feel like yours had the most personal journey in the sense that, you are using mum and dad and love and whatnot. It has been seen before in No Way Home in some aspects, and it kind of felt a little bit in the sense that Andy's maybe is too big and crazy and out there, whilst you have that kind of journeying through the multiverse and whatnot. Perhaps it just lacked a little bit of the kind of out there vibe of an animated film for me, but again, really enjoyed the personal journey for it. Ross, coming to you again, having the difficulty of pitching after someone who has run with a similar pitch, but I think yours is very different in the sense. I see where you took the inspiration of the inheritors, whatever they're called. Thank you. See where you took that, but and see how you took that on its own journey. Going back through the franchises, I personally don't mind the little fight scene with a couple of villains because I think it's funny that, one Spider-Man may see it as a big villain, 2 Spider-Man, and they just beat the crap out of them really easily while they're having a little bit of banter. I'm absolutely fine with that. I don't have any problems with that. Again, with yours, little things like ending it on the Miles home planet makes sense in some ways, but the kind of jeopardy for the characters that aren't Miles doesn't necessarily feel as climatic as some of the others. But again, I can see where we've kind of gone with it. It's really hard to pick negatives in the sense that I actually really enjoy all the pitches as well. So I'm also glad I'm not deciding who's third, second, and first. This has been the easiest episode as a host I've had, so happy days for me. But yeah, they are my kind of thoughts on it, and we are going to pass, because Jordan is a regular guest of ours and because he is a friend of the podcast, we're kind of giving some special liberties with the point scoring with this one, where usually as a guest judge, we wouldn't have them score points. It'd be a standalone episode. With this, we are allowing it to incorporate into our competition this time out. So, Jordan, are you ready? Have you got your decision for third, second, and first place?
Yes, tentatively.
Okay, we're gonna
I
lock it in now. Congratulations, all of you. As I say again, it's understated that they were all very good pitches, but we do need a third place pitch this week. So, Jordan, who is your third place and why?
Okay, so before I launch into my, there's no like third place is last place. This is very much my top three. That just happens to only be three. All three of them, as I'll get onto, are films that various versions of me aptly would enjoy watching. So my third place is Matt's, and that is because
Wait.
I can just immediately
Which one's
see him
that?
go for a big
He
swig
didn't
from the
bring a
bottle.
pitch, so
Ross.
It's gonna be a not Matt. Oh God! Oh,
It is late. It's 10:30 when we're recording this. It's been a long episode.
We haven't gone this long for a long. I think this might be the longest normal episode we've ever done.
so I'm just gonna restart that, and we'll pretend that didn't happen. I'm very tired. I was up very early this morning. In third place, with none of the dramatic tension anymore, is Ross. But no, in third place, I've gone with Ross, whose pitch is the one that kid me would probably get the biggest sugar rush from. I think that yours is a real kind of balls to the wall summer blockbuster kind of film with lots of action popping all over the place, like fun little side adventures going on. I can imagine like you just wouldn't be bored for a second. And I do like the fact that you've done some little nods to actual sort of established Spider-Man lore, and you've also taken the time to go, okay, there is space still for pieces of Spider-Man cinematic history that we can look back to whilst also moving Miles' story forwards. I think that it is maybe the way that I've put it here is that there's not a lot of meat on the bones of the story, but the bone itself is very juicy. So I
it's a juicy bone.
without wanting this to get very blue all of a sudden, it's a very suckable bone.
Hey, to me, it sounds like you've won, Ross. I'm just saying that. Amazing stuff. To save any
I would have liked to have had a bit more meat to chew.
There we go. And
I'm going to go for a cold shower after this.
This week's 2 points go to, please.
So my 2 points go to Drew.
Ooh, I hate you.
So I felt like, forgetting the whole No Way Home analogy thing, which until the point Drew made it apparent that he didn't know that he had cribbed parts of his plot from No Way Home, I assumed that it was a knowing sort of nod to No Way Home story that was somehow going to subvert it. And then I realized that it was just that it accidentally hit some of those beats. So I fully believe that it was a sincere original story. I think if anything, you just inhabited the mind of a Spider-Man writer a little bit too well.
Oh, thank
because
you.
ended
That's
up
very
telling
generous
an
of you.
established Spider-Man story. But what I would say though for yours is that it's very like well thought through emotionally. I feel like you can track where Miles is at each point of the story, and I think as well that it's probably out of the three the most believable sequel pitch. I think in a world where No Way Home didn't exist, I could definitely see an Across the Spider-Verse type, like a sequel film that did a similar thing to this. So I don't think that you were a million miles off the mark with where you decided to go with it. But I do think it's just an unfortunate case of right idea, wrong timing. And I think that if I went to the cinema, I'd come out of it and I'd go, oh yeah, that was really, really good. quite fancy watching No Way Home for some reason. But you do get extra brownie points for bringing Alfred Molina back in a very
well done.
like as if No Way Home wasn't meta enough. Like you've added another level of meta. So that is across the 3 pitches. That was like my favorite little detail that any of the 3 of you did. So you get like a tiny little trophy for
Thank you. I'll take that.
The best individual moment of inspiration. Which means, obviously, then that in first place in my guest judging slot for Into the Spider-Verse is Andy.
Hey, I'm doing the Spider-Man 3 emo dance. Yeah. Everybody.
And I'll be honest with you. I think that the thing that swung it for me, which is an intentional Spider-Man related pun, I think the thing that swung it for me is that I could see Drew's version happening. Like Kid Me would be just a little bit like drunk on the sugar rush of Ross's. But then I think that your version is the one that if I went to the cinema, I would go, oh, I had no idea they'd go in that direction, but I would believe in it. Like I would go, that was a wild left turn that came out of nowhere, but I'm kind of on board. And I think that is, for me at least, that most captures the spirit of what the first Spider-Verse film tried to tell us about how these comic book films can be within the medium, is this idea that you can actually go to those out there places from the comic books in a way that will challenge audiences. I mean, the whole storyline with the Other and the Inheritors and Mullen and all of that stuff is like, that's some deep cut stuff that's going to sell a lot of comic books after the film comes out. But like, I think people would be along for the ride with that. I think that it would be a task. There'd be a lot of like tonal balancing to do. I'd almost be tempted to say that it read more like a 2-part pitch, like for a 2-parter of a film, than for one film. I could imagine it being split somewhere in the middle. But I think it is the most in the spirit of the Spider-Verse sequel of the 3, which is what made it just nudge the other 2 out of top spot.
There you go. Amazing stuff. Thank you very much, Jordan, and amazing work, gentlemen. Really, really good pictures with a very, very bloody hard film. So there you have it. This week's winner is Andy Henry. Andy, what are we pitching next episode?
Oh, it is one of my favorite franchises in cinematic history. I want you to pitch me sequels to Transformers 12 or 9. What are they on now? Which one's actually coming out soon?
You love it that much.
I fucking hate this fucking franchise. God damn it.
Is it 6? 7?
I think they're up. I honestly think they're up to 8, but I don't know. But I'm quite confident saying it's Transformers 8. If not, just make Transformers 8. Just skip the last couple and go straight to 8.
I'm actually
Transformers 5.
Kind of think.
Is there 5? Because Bumblebee doesn't count, really, I guess. Not in the...
Bumblebee counts in our hearts.
Yeah, it's canon. Yeah. Well, I still haven't seen it. Oh, god damn it. I hate this franchise.
It's pretty good. Bumblebee, I hate the franchise. Bumblebee, great film. You'll love it.
Yeah. All right. Maybe I'll give that a watch. Can we do sequels to Bumblebee instead?
No,
at least that might be a bit more enjoyable.
Is this actually being aired? Okay, we're going to air it. This is
this is how we're doing it.
Precursor to the next episode. No. Andy, what are we pitching next episode?
We'll be pitching Transformers. Whatever one it is, we don't know. We don't know which one it is.
No, for fuck's sake!
Which one is it? I've got it down as 8, but I don't actually know if it's true or not.
I quite like the idea of we are pitching Transformers, whatever the fuck this one
Transformers: The Last Night.
Yeah, we're pitching
Yeah.
sequels to Transformers: The Last Night.
Okay. I didn't know that. I still thought it was like
2017's Transformers: The Last Night.
So I thought
Three.
we'd had enough waffle that you might have pulled it up in the meantime.
No, I was getting a drink.
Third time
I was-
lucky.
I've been trying to drink this whole time, but I've been waffling.
So congratulations to Andy, this week's winner. Andy, what are we pitching next episode?
Third time lucky. We'll be pitching Transformers. Was it The Last Night? That's it. The Last Night. The Dark Knight Transformers. A Batman Transformers mashup.
There you go. You heard it here first, listeners. We're doing a Transformers pitch next time round, as if we
Oh
didn't
my
have enough difficulties
goodness.
this time. Thank you very much once again for listening. Jordan, signing you off. Once again, thank you so much for being with us. Where can our listeners find you? What have you got coming up?
You can find me over on Twitter, probably for about 2 more weeks. Jordan MV King. And beyond Twitter, you will most regularly find me haunting the pages of Empire Magazine in print and online, and recently over at Yahoo, as well as other places here, there, and everywhere. So,
Yay.
yes.
Amazing. You do some fantastic reviews, mate, and thank you for bringing so much knowledge to the episode as always. But with that, it is time to say good night, goodbye. From this week's runners-up verse, Ross Holmston.
Suck my bone.
Juicy, juicy bone. Who told me?
Goodbye, everyone.
From this week's winner, Andy Henry.
Oh, I want to see a Batman Transformers film now. God damn it.
From our wonderful special guest once again, Jordan.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me, your host, Matt. See you soon, folks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.